CachyOS versus Zorin OS. Which Linux distro should you choose? First, let's start with the introduction. If you're planning to leave Windows behind in 2026, you've probably heard two very different names, CachyOS and Zorin OS. One is built for maximum speed, gaming, and bleeding-edge software. The other focuses on simplicity, stability, and making Linux feel familiar to Windows users. So, which one deserves a place on your computer? Today, we're comparing CachyOS versus Zorin OS in every important category, from installation and performance to gaming, software support, updates, stability, and who each distro is really designed for. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one fits your needs. So, let's get started.
Now, what is CachyOS? CachyOS is a Linux distribution based on Arch Linux. Unlike standard Arch, which requires a lot of manual setup, CachyOS comes ready to use with an easy installer and many performance optimizations already enabled. The developers compile packages using modern CPU optimizations, include custom kernels, optimize scheduling, and provide several desktop environments out of the box. The goal is simple. Get every bit of performance possible without forcing users to spend hours tweaking their system. Because it's based on Arch, it's a rolling release distribution, meaning you continuously receive the newest software instead of waiting for major releases.
Now, what is Zorin OS? Zorin OS is built on Ubuntu LTS. Its mission is completely different. Instead of chasing the newest software, Zorin focuses on making Linux approachable for beginners. Everything is designed to feel polished and familiar, especially for people switching from Windows. The desktop resembles Windows, software installation is simple, hardware support is excellent, and long-term stability is one of its biggest strengths. If you've never used Linux before, Zorin is one of the easiest places to start.
Now, about the installation experience. Let's begin with installation. Both operating systems offer graphical installers that are easy to use. However, Zorin keeps things incredibly simple. You can install it with just a few clicks, and after rebooting, you're immediately presented with a polished desktop that feels familiar. Very little configuration is required. CachyOS has also become much easier than traditional Arch Linux. The Calamares installer guides you through the installation process, and you can choose different desktop environments during setup. Despite being Arch-based, installing CachyOS today is surprisingly beginner-friendly. Still, Zorin wins this category because everything is designed around simplicity. Winner, Zorin OS.
Now, about the desktop experience. This is where these distributions begin to separate. Zorin OS ships with one carefully designed desktop. Everything matches. The animations are smooth. Menus are clean. Icons look consistent. It feels like a commercial operating system rather than a community project. CachyOS gives users much more freedom. You can install KDE Plasma, GNOME, Cinnamon, XFCE, Cosmic, Hyperland, and many other desktop environments. That flexibility is fantastic for enthusiasts, but it also means the experience depends on what you choose. If you love customization, CachyOS is hard to beat. If you just want something beautiful that works immediately, Zorin has the advantage.
Now about the performance. Now let's talk about speed. This is where CachyOS shines. The distribution includes compiler optimizations, custom kernels, scheduler improvements, and packages built specifically for modern processors. Recent benchmarks continue to show CachyOS among the fastest Linux distributions on modern hardware, often outperforming Ubuntu and Fedora in many workloads, thanks to its aggressive optimizations. Applications launch quickly. System responsiveness feels excellent. Gaming performance is also extremely strong. Zorin OS is by no means slow. Ubuntu's base is already highly optimized, and for everyday office work, web browsing, streaming, and programming, most users won't notice huge differences. However, for demanding workloads such as gaming, compiling large projects, video editing, and rendering, CachyOS usually has the edge. Winner, CachyOS.
Now, about the gaming. Gaming is another major difference. CachyOS is designed with gamers in mind. It includes gaming-focused optimizations, modern kernels, updated Mesa drivers, excellent Proton support, and easy access to the newest graphics stack. Because it's a rolling release, new GPU drivers often arrive much sooner. That can improve compatibility with new hardware and games. Zorin OS also handles gaming well. Steam installs easily, Proton works well, most Linux games run without issue. However, since Zorin prioritizes stability over the newest software, graphics drivers and Mesa versions may lag behind Arch-based distributions. If gaming is your number one priority, CachyOS is the stronger option.
Now, about the software availability. Both distributions offer huge software libraries. Zorin uses Ubuntu repositories, snap packages, Flatpak support, and thousands of applications that are easy to install. CachyOS benefits from the Arch repositories plus the famous AUR, the Arch User Repository. The AUR contains an enormous number of community-maintained packages. If software exists for Linux, there's a very good chance you'll find it there. Advanced users often consider the AUR one of Arch Linux's biggest strengths.
Now about the updates. The update philosophy is completely different. Zorin OS follows Ubuntu's stable release model. Updates focus on reliability and long-term support. Major upgrades happen much less frequently. This means fewer surprises. CachyOS follows a rolling release model. New kernels, new desktop environments, new drivers, new features. Everything arrives continuously. That's exciting if you enjoy having the newest software, but it also means updates happen more often and occasionally require a bit more attention.
Now, about the stability. People often assume rolling release distributions are unstable. That's not necessarily true. CachyOS has become remarkably reliable for many users, but because it receives constant updates, there is naturally more risk than a conservative LTS distribution. Community feedback often praises its daily usability while acknowledging its faster-moving update cycle. Zorin OS, on the other hand, is built specifically for stability. Its Ubuntu LTS foundation has been tested extensively. Businesses, schools, and everyday users appreciate the predictable experience. If reliability is your highest priority, Zorin is difficult to beat.
Now, about the hardware support. Both distributions support modern AMD and Intel hardware very well. NVIDIA's support has improved significantly on both. However, CachyOS usually delivers newer kernels and graphics drivers much sooner. That can make a noticeable difference if you've purchased the latest hardware. For older computers, Zorin remains an excellent choice because of its conservative software base and dependable driver support.
Now, about the customization. If you enjoy tweaking every aspect of your desktop, CachyOS wins easily. From kernels and schedulers to desktop environments, themes, package choices, and performance settings, almost everything can be customized. Zorin intentionally limits customization. Its goal isn't endless tweaking. Its goal is providing a polished experience that simply works. Now, about the community support. Zorin has one of the friendliest communities for Linux beginners. Most Ubuntu tutorials also apply because Zorin shares the same foundation. CachyOS has a rapidly growing community, detailed documentation, and benefits from the enormous Arch Linux wiki, which remains one of the best Linux resources available. Advanced users will appreciate the wealth of Arch documentation. So, now which one should you choose? Choose Zorin OS if you're completely new to Linux, you're moving from Windows, you want maximum stability, you don't want to troubleshoot updates, you prefer an operating system that simply works. Choose CachyOS if you enjoy experimenting, you want the latest software, gaming is important, you own modern hardware, You want the highest possible performance. Neither distribution is objectively better. They're built for different audiences.
Now, about the final verdict. If I were recommending Linux to a family member switching from Windows tomorrow, I'd confidently recommend Zorin OS. It's polished, reliable, and extremely easy to learn. But if someone asked me which distribution I'd install on my own gaming desktop or high-performance workstation, I'd probably choose CachyOS. Its performance optimizations, rolling updates, modern software, and flexibility make it one of the most exciting Linux distributions available today. In the end, your choice depends on what matters most. Simplicity and stability? Go with Zorin OS. Maximum performance and cutting-edge software? Choose CachyOS. And honestly, whichever one you pick, you'll be getting a fantastic Linux experience.